of Bill number 6336 and Senate Bill 1850 shall now become known as Republic Act number 11953, entitled An Act Emancipating Agrarian Reform Beneficiaries or ARBs from Financial Burden by Condoning All Principal Loans, Unpaid Amortizations and Interests, and Accepting Payment of Estate Tax on Agricultural Lands awarded under the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. The law seeks to emancipate agrarian reform beneficiaries from the burden of the land they till by condoning all unpaid amortizations and interests in connection with the loans they secured under the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. Let us remain standing for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, to be followed by an invocation led by Agrarian Reform Beneficiary Anicleto Milyapis Sr. and Bangsamoro Parliament Deputy Speaker Omar Sema.
Dakilang Ama, ipinagpasalamat namin ang araw na ito, araw na magbabago ng buhay namin bilang magsasaka. Salamat sa tunay na reformang pansakahan na nagbibigay sa amin ng biyaya bilang magmamay-ari ng lupaing aming sinasaka. Salamat po sa mga taong ginamit mong instrumento upang maging isang tagumpay ang hangaring ito. Ang aming pasalamat ay binabalik namin sa inyo ng buong kapurihan. Amen.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amin ya Rabbil Alamin. Ya Allah, creator of the heavens and the earth, you are the master of the day of judgment. Thee alone we worship, and Thee alone we ask for mercy. Ya Allah, continue to enlighten and guide our leaders so that they may be able to fairly serve the people and that they will be able to justly distribute the bounties of the world you have created, so that no one will feel oppressed or deprived or marginalized, so that this nation will be relieved and emancipated from all the causes of instability. Ya Allah, in this archipelago, it is not religion, color, or language that unites us. It is our common aspiration for peace, justice, equality, and collective progress. Strengthen then our resolve and cultivate and sustain the peace we are enjoying now, and the effective solutions we have formulated for our current problems, for our better life, not for us today, but for the future generations to come. Rabbana wala tu'hamilna ma la taqata lana bi wa'fu 'anna waghfir lana warhamna anta maulana fansurna lal qaumil kafirin. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
We may now be seated. To our distinguished senators and members of the House of Representatives, other distinguished government officials, and our valuable partners in the private sector, good morning. We are gathered here today to witness the enactment of the new Agrarian Emancipation Act. To formally begin our program, may we call on Agrarian Reform Secretary Conrado Estrella III for his opening remarks.
Let me first open my portable teleprompter. Your Excellency, President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr., sir. Senate President Miguel Zubiri, and Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez. My colleagues in the Cabinet, distinguished members of the Senate and the House of Representatives, my former colleagues, heads of the different government agencies, local government officials headed by the governors and mayors, my co-workers in the Department of Agrarian Reform, and all my fellow public servants, members of the Malacanang Press Corps, and our friends in the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to everybody. And before anything else, I would like to acknowledge, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, the agrarian reform beneficiaries in all the 15 regions of our country. May I begin with those who are from the Cordillera Autonomous Region. Thank you to this new technology. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President, our friends, our ARBs from Region 1, from CAR, Cordillera Autonomous Region, and our ARBs from Region 1, Mr. President. Ako lang yata ang nandito. Tayo lang yata, Mr. President. There they are, Mr. President. And also, our ARBs from Region 2, Mr. President. They are also here. Yan, Mr. President. Courtesy of Governor Rodito Albano, Mr. President. And of course, our ARBs from Region 3, they are now in the Heroes Hall, Mr. President. And those ARBs from 4A, they are also in the Heroes Hall. Our ARBs from Region 4B, Mr. President, they are in Palawan right now. Of course, Mr. President, our ARBs from the Bicol region. Thank you, Congressman Villapuerte, for hosting. And also our ARBs from Region 6, ladies and gentlemen. Nakapula sila, Mr. President. Happy Valentine's. And a flag ba? Our ARBs from Region 7. And now our ARBs, Agrarian Reform Beneficiaries from Region 8. From Region 9, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, ang dami po nila. And from Region 10, Mr. President, they are also here with us. The region of the Senate President. And from Region 11, Mr. President, they are also here. Of course, our Agrarian Reform Beneficiaries from Region 12. And finally, our Agrarian Reform Beneficiaries from the Caraga region, Mr. President. I'd like to acknowledge also the presence of our Agrarian Reform Beneficiaries who have success stories to share with us. We cannot accommodate all of them, but we invited some of them. They are here, Mr. President, our Agrarian Reform Beneficiaries. Please stand up. And also, Mr. President, yun pong litrato ng inyong ama at ng aking lolo, yung iba po doon, meron pa ho na buhay pa ho hanggang ngayon. Naririto sila, silang dalawa, Mr. President. Nasaan ba yung dalawa? Andun po sila. Yeah. Mga kasama po sa litrato noon, nung pinirmahan ang PD 27. Mr. President, if you will recall, shortly after the elections, when you were still holding office in EDSA, in the 7th floor, that was the time when you invited me to join the cabinet, Mr. President. Naalala ko po noon, hinila ninyo ko at ang inyong sinabi sa akin, Conrad, sabi nyo, yung lolo mo at yung tatay ko ay maraming nagawa. Sa tingin mo kaya papantay tayo? Yan, tumatak po yan sa isip ko, Mr. President. Kaya nais ko pong sabihin sa inyo, na isang tambak na po na support services, mga farm-to-market roads and farm machineries and equipments ang naibigay na po natin sa atin mga agrarian reform beneficiaries. At kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa inyo, sa ating mahal na Secretary Ben Jokno, sa ating mahal na Secretary Amina Pangandaman, at sa lahat po ng ating mga senador at lahat po ng atin mga congressman sapagkat ang budget po ng Department of Agrarian Reform ay agad-agad nilang inaprubahan. Hindi ho kami pinahirapan. Maraming salamat in advance sa inyo. At ganoon din po, nagpapasalamat din po kami sa mga tiga Land Bank of the Philippines sapagkat sila po ay very active na nagbibigay po ng credit assistance sa atin mga agrarian reform beneficiaries. Noon pong September 13, 2022, noon inyo pong kaarawan, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, 56th birthday ho yata ninyo noon. Ay, 65 pala ho. Yun pong pangako ninyo, nilagdaan ninyo ang Executive Order Number 4 Series of 2022 na tumatawag ng moratorium sa pagbayad ng amortization fees at other penalties by the agrarian reform beneficiaries. Ito po ay nagawa ninyo, nangako kayo, natupad ninyo. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, the resolution of vintage agrarian cases should not be overlooked. Especially, we have resolved, Mr. President, 20, 10, 5-year-old cases, and to banner it, Mr. President, we have solved the Hacienda Tinang case, which after 30 years, finally we have resolved it and nobody appealed with the decision, and now it is final and executory, Mr. President. Ito po ay inutos ninyo sa amin sapagkat ang gusto po ninyo, Mr. President, ay bilisan namin ang pagresolba ng mga kaso sapagkat naniniwala kayo, justice delayed is justice denied. Kaya kami rin po ay nagpapasalamat sa Department of Budget and Management sapagkat sinuportahan po nila ang scrap and build program po upang kami po ay so that we can hire more competent lawyers at the level of attorney 4 so that we can further accelerate resolution of agrarian cases and catch up with the backlog. Salamat sa DBM po. And also, of course, Mr. President, magmula po noong July 1st hanggang December 31st ng 2022, tayo po ay nakapagbigay ng 21,876 titles sa buong Pilipinas. Ang nakinabang po dyan na ARBs ay 24,804 farmers at 25,159 hectares po ang naipamigay natin. Magmula po, umpisa ng taong ito, January 1st, hanggang kahapon po, Mr. President, ang nai-distribute na po natin na titulo ay 17,044. Ang nakinabang po dito na ARBs ay 16,506, covering 21,427 hectares, Mr. President. Itong araw na ito, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, we will simultaneously distribute 32,441 titles to 27,132 ARBs covering 39,269 hectares. Maraming salamat po sa Department of Finance, sa Department of Budget and Management, sa DOJ, at lalong-lalo na po, special mention sa Land Registration Administration. Nandito po ang ating head, Mr. President, si Administrator Jerry Sirius. Hindi yun naman masyadong serious yan. Dahil sa kanya, Mr. President, napabilis natin ang paglabas ng mga titulo. At naririto rin po ang kalihim ng Department of Environment and Natural Resources, si Secretary Loizaga. At dahil po sa kanila, napabilis din natin ang release. At ganon din po, tuloy-tuloy ang ating pag-release sapagkat hindi na namin kailangan humingi ng maraming pondo, meron naman tayong tinatawag na suporta na nanggaling po, and this support came from the World Bank headed by Mr. Job Indiama. Naririto po sila, Mr. President. Nandiyan po sila. Will you please stand up, our friends from the World Bank? Now, Mr. President, ang dami po natin nagawa. Ngunit, ang pinakamalaki pong nagawa ng inyong administrasyon at ang inyong hiningi sa House of Representatives at sa Senate, inyo pong ipinangako, hindi po napako, natupad na po ngayon, lalagdaan na po ninyo ang New Agrarian Emancipation Act. Ito po ay condonation of payment of amortization fees by the ARBs. At nagpapasalamat kami sa Land Bank of the Philippines, Department of Finance, Department of Budget and Management, kay Senate President at sa mga senador, at ang nag-shepherd po sa Senate ng bill na ito ay walang iba kung hindi si Senator Cynthia Villar. At ang inyo pong kapatid, Senator Amy Marcos. Nagpapasalamat din po kami sa lahat ng mga magiting na congressman. Kung hindi ako nagkakamali, wala hong kumontra sa bill na ito sa House of Representatives. At special mention po dito sa kaibigan natin, ang ating kaibigan na Bicolano, si Congressman Joey Salceda, sa kanya pong pag-shepherd nitong bill na ito. At ganun din po si Congressman Sol Chungalaw. Nandito yan. At lahat ng mga principal authors. Of course, kahit wala ho rito, si Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez. Ngayon, Mr. President, yung tanong ninyo sa akin noon na kaya ba natin, kaya nating pansinin, pabayaan na ho natin sila ang humusga dito po sa ating nagawa. Naniniwala po kami na isang malaking karangalan para sa inyo na taglay nyo ang pangalan ng inyong yumaong ama, President Ferdinand Edralin Marcos Sr. Ngunit dumating na ho ang panahon. Ako'y nakakasigurado, walang tututol. Naniniwala na kami. Now, Mr. President, we can say that in your first year as President of the Republic, you have done a lot for our country, and therefore now you deserve your own place under the sun. Mabuhay kayo, Mr. President. Mabuhay lahat ng ating mga agrarian reform beneficiaries. Mabuhay ang Republika ng Pilipinas. God bless all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Estrella. At this juncture, may we request Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin to introduce our keynote speaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Maraming salamat sa ating Executive Secretary, Secretary Lucas Bersamin. Please take your seats. Ating namumuno ng ating Senado, ating Upper House, the Senate President, Senate President Mig Zubiri, at lahat ng miyembro ng Senado na nandito ngayong umaga na ito, dito sa napakahalaga at makahulugan na okasyon. The Agrarian Reform Secretary, who we have just heard from, Agrarian Reform Secretary Conrado Estrella, ay parang gusto ko sabihin si Lolo Condring pagka nakita ko yung Agrarian Reform. But you are holding up the tradition that our forefathers put and began before us. The late Speaker of the House of Representatives, I actually mean he's just late. He's still okay. He's still alive. Speaker Martin Romualdez and our the members of the House of Representatives, without whose important support we could not have done any of this. The members of the cabinet here present, I think we will notice that halos kumpleto ang kabinete ngayong araw na ito dahil talaga ay napakahalaga nitong ating ginagawa ngayong umagang ito. My fellow workers in government, ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Sa kaunahang kong State of the Nation address ay nasabi ko, the Filipino people, ay sinasabi ko sa ating at ipinangako ko sa ating mga kababayan na itutuloy ang Agrarian Reform Program. I am here today to build on that promise because our beneficiaries deserve nothing less. Ituloy natin ang reformang agraryo hindi lamang sa pamimigay ng lupa at sa mga magsasakang hanggang ngayon ay wala pa ring lupa, kung hindi upang tuluyan na sila'y palayain mula sa pagkakautang na pumipigil sa kanilang ganap na pagmamayari sa lupang bigay sa kanila ng pamahalaan. Sa ilalim ng mga batas agraryo, ang bawat magsasaka ay may utang na katumbas ng halaga ng lupang binigay sa kanila. Kailangan nilang bayaran ito sa loob ng hindi hihigit ng 30 taon. Dagdag ang 6% interest bago tuluyang maging kanila ang lupa. Panahon na para makalaya sila sa pagkakautang na ito. This is why on September 13, 2022, I signed the Executive Order Number 4, imposing a 1-year moratorium on the payment of amortization on agrarian debt by our beneficiaries. Yet I know that the government can and must do more to alleviate the plight of our agrarian reform beneficiaries. I thank both houses of the legislative branch for heeding the call for social justice for our farmers by swiftly enacting the new Agrarian Emancipation Act, which I will sign into law today. I thank all of those who have been part of this effort. It is something that we have been attempting to achieve for a very long time. Nung pumasok po ako at binati ko ang aking ate, na si Senator Amy, ay kako sa kanya, ikaw talaga yung original author. Mula nung nagsimula siya bilang senador, ay pinaglalaban na niya ito. At magpapasalamat kami kay Senator Cynthia na talagang nakikita natin ay nasa puso niya ang kalagayan ng ating mga magsasaka, lahat ng buong agrikultura. At siya ay pinaglaban naman niya, pinag-sponsor naman niya sa Senado. At ganun din sa ating mga magigiting na congressman na ay hindi tumutol at ay kinilala at nakita kaagad ang gano'ng kaimportante itong ating ginagawa at gano'ng kahuli na tayo sa panahon. Marami na po tayong inantay na ilang administrasyon at hindi pa natin nagawa ito. Kaya't napakalaking karangalan para sa akin at tumayo ngayon sa harap ninyo at masabi na ito'y gagawin na nating batas at napagbigyan na natin at ipinaglaya natin ang ating mga magsasaka at agrarian reform beneficiaries sa kanilang pagkalubog sa utang. This law condones all unpaid amortizations, including interest and surcharges for awarded lands. A total of 610,054 agrarian reform beneficiaries will benefit from this new Agrarian Emancipation Act. Ngayon, ang sinasabi ang mawawala sa pamahalaan ay 57.65 billion. Yan lang alam niyo naman po, yung pagbayad na yan ay nasa papel lang yan. Ang katotohanan talaga, pwede natin nang tawagin na dormant receivable ito. Dahil alam naman namin, walang kakayahan ang mga magsasaka na bayaran itong napakalaking utang na ito. Kaya napakatama naman na napunta sa pamahalaan. At kami naman, yan ang trabaho ng pamahalaan upang suportahan kayo, upang pagandahin ang ating agrikultura, upang bigyan kayo ng pagkakataon. At upang masabi natin na ginagawa natin lahat, upang maipakain natin lahat ng ating mga mamamayan. The government will also assume the obligation of our beneficiaries for the payment of just compensation to landowners under the voluntary land transfer or direct payment schemes for the benefit of 10,201 ARBs, with a total payable of 206 million pesos. Sa ngalan ng ating mga magsasaka at ng sambayan ng Pilipino, taus-puso akong nagpapasalamat sa Kongreso at sa Senado sa agarang pagpanday ng batas na ito. Ikinararangal ko na pirmahan ng batas na ito upang tuluyan ng makalaya sa pagkakautang ang ating mga magsasaka mula sa araw na ito. However, I believe that genuine agrarian emancipation requires more than just the distribution of land. If there was a very important lesson that Lolo Condring Estrella and my father, then the president, learned was that the handing of titles to our agrarian reform beneficiaries is but the first step. Free land distribution must go hand in hand with broadening the provision of credit facilities and support services in the form of farm inputs, equipment, and facilities to our farmers, as well as the construction of more farm-to-market roads. These efforts will yield more sustainable farms and higher incomes for our farmers. As President, I assure you, we will never stop providing our farmers with the support that they need to help make their farms more productive, while also improving their lives and that of their families. Kung iibayuhin natin ang pagpapaulad sa ating mga sakahan, dapat din natin lalong paunlarin ang pamumuhay ng ating mga magsasaka at ng kanilang mga mahal sa buhay. So let us expedite the individual titling of lands covered by collective CLOAs to secure the agrarian rights of our farmers. Isa yan ang inuna namin ni Secretary Conrad at sinabi namin ay siguro ang para makapag-issue na tayo ng titulo ay kailangan yung consolidated CLOA ay mabigyan na, paghati-hati na para alam ng beneficiary kung saan yung lupa niya at maisasaka na niya. Kaya yan ang inuna namin at maganda naman sa aking palagay ang naging performance ng Department of Agrarian Reform sa pagbigay at pagbuo ng sistema upang maayos na natin yung consolidated CLOAs at maari nang magsaka ang ating mga beneficiary. We will also enhance the efficiency of agrarian case resolution systems for faster outcomes. We need to revitalize the agricultural sector, and so we endeavor to attract and train new generations of young farmers who will become the driving force behind a modernized and profitable agriculture sector that fuels sustainable rural development. With unity and with diligence, we will address these concerns and make agrarian emancipation a tangible reality for our hardworking farmers. It is time to give our farmers the recognition that they deserve as the providers of our nation's sustenance, the providers of life to all of Filipinos. Panahon na upang ang ating mga magsasaka na silang nagpapakahirap araw-araw upang lagyan ng pagkain ang mga hapagkainan ng ating mga tahanan ay mabigyan ng atensyon at pagpupugay na akma sa kanilang kontribusyon sa ating bayan. Hinihimok ko rin ang ating mga agrarian reform beneficiaries na patuloy na alagaan at payabungin ang ating mga sakahan. Tutulungan at susuportahan namin kayo sa inyong bawat hakbang upang kayo ay umunlad, magtagumpay at makatulong sa pagbibigay ng sapat at masustansyang pagkain sa ating mga mamamayan. Let us work together to realize this dream, our dream, as it was my father's dream, to give every Filipino farmer and his or her family a life beyond mere survival, a life free from want, from hunger, or fear of the future, a life of dignity, abundance, and prosperity. Mabuhay ang ating mga agrarian reform beneficiaries, mabuhay ang magsasakang Pilipino. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. It is now time to witness the ceremonial signing of the new Agrarian Emancipation Act. To join the President on stage, may we have Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri, House Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez, Senator Cynthia Villar, Senator Amy R. Marcos, Representative Solomon Chungalao, Representative Jose Salceda, Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, Special Assistant to the President Antonio Lagdameo, Secretary Conrado Estrella III, Secretary Benjamin Jokno, and Presidential Advisor on Legislative Affairs Mark Leandro Mendoza. Once again, it is now time to witness the ceremonial signing of the new Agrarian Emancipation Act. Upon the President's signature, the reconciled version of House Bill number 6336 and Senate Bill 1850 shall now become known as Republic Act number 11953, entitled An Act Emancipating Agrarian Reform Beneficiaries or ARBs from Financial Burden by Condoning All Principal Loans, Unpaid Amortizations and Interests, and Accepting Payment of Estate Tax on Agricultural Lands awarded under the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. The law seeks to emancipate agrarian reform beneficiaries from the burden of the land they till by condoning all unpaid amortizations and interests in connection with the loans they secured under the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. Thank you, Mr. President. At this point, the President will now grant a photo opportunity. For first batch, may we ask our distinguished men and women to remain on stage for the photo opportunity to be joined by the principal sponsors of the bill. Once again, may we ask the other principal sponsors of the bill to join the President. Thank you. May we have the other members of the Senate to please be on standby for batch 2. Thank you. May we now have our next group. Members of the Senate, please proceed on stage. Thank you. Our members of the House of Representatives, please stand by. So for this group, we will have the members of the Senate. Thank you. Thank you. May we now have our next group from the House of Representatives. Please be on standby, our officials from the Department of Agrarian Reforms. Thank you. Our members of the House of Representatives. Up next, we will have our officials from the Department of Agrarian Reforms on standby. Thank you so much. The members of the House of Representatives, please exit to your right, on the right side of the stage. Thank you. Up next, we have our officials from the Department of Agrarian Reforms. Kindly exit on the right side of the stage once your group photo is finished. We will now have our friends from the Department of Agrarian Reforms. Thank you.